So good morning, everyone. I'm Gail Panhele from Focus. For the ones who don't know me and don't know us, I'm just going to say a bit of what we do. So we actually support international people to settle in the UK. We offer a wide range of support, which starts with the events you're on today, but we also have plenty of different things you can actually find on the website. And Maria is here with me today, who's in charge of all the events and everything. So welcome, Maria. And
good morning. Good morning, everyone.
So we are very pleased to actually start the season with Jelena. This is the first of many workshops we will be offering online for the moment, since all the things happening outside the world. And so Jelena is a career coach who has been working with us for quite a while now, and I'm very pleased she accepted to work on this workshop with us. And so Jelena, I'm leaving you on the call, and welcome everyone.
Thank you so much, Gail, and lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for coming on board and investing your precious time. I will do my best to make it worthwhile. Just to set the scene, I'd like you all to have pen and paper, or if you prefer to type on your device, that's also fine, but I will be asking you some questions. As a coach, I like to ask questions, and I like to help you get your own answers, or the beginning of your own answers, as opposed to just giving you content to sort of digest or ingest rather. We have about an hour in total, and my presentation will probably take around 40 minutes or so, but I'll make sure we have time for questions and interaction at the end. So first and foremost, I'd like you to spend maybe 20 seconds or half a minute writing down your intention for this workshop. What is it that you want to get out of this workshop? You can write down one thing or a few. This will help you set the scene and sort of focus your own thinking on what it is that you're looking to get from the presentation. But also, if by the end of the presentation, you haven't got your answer, or you feel like, oh, I really wanted more of this, or I expected something else, or I have this burning question, then by all means ask in the Q&A. So let's kick off. As you can see, the title is How to Make Conscious Career Decisions. And the word conscious is probably key to my coaching, my life philosophy, and everything I bring both into my personal and professional life as a career fulfillment coach. The word fulfillment is also extremely important, because I care about my clients being fulfilled in what they do. Finally, just picking on the third element on the cover slide is What Work, which is the name of my consultancy. That is the word work. I deliberately chose the word work because I believe that work is what gives meaning and purpose to our lives as humans. And even though we do use words like career, job, business, entrepreneur, freelancer, contractor, could be anything, essentially it is work. It is what work we do in our lives and how fulfilled we are with it and how we self-actualize through that work. So without further ado, let's go into the presentation. Very briefly about me. Some of you know me from before. Some of you are new to Focus, like Corinne, who I see is on the call, and thank you for coming. who I alerted to this, this presentation and the opportunity. So for those of you who do not know me, my background is in international recruitment. I started my corporate career in Japan, where I worked for 4 years. And then for further 6 years, I worked for the same company in London, running their European operations. And after that, I had a number of roles within international recruitment, always working with organizations, either big corporates or even NGOs, supplying and selecting top talent for them. In my last full-time job, I actually worked with top business schools, helping them select executive MBA, MBA and master students. So it was also recruitment, but for education. Now, recruitment for me has meaning and has always had meaning in the sense that it was bringing two parties together for a win-win situation. And that's why I got interested over time in exploring more what makes some people successful in their careers, what makes some people more fulfilled in their careers, what are the links between their skills, strengths, competencies, and education, and actually what they achieve in life. In addition to my corporate career of definitely more than 25 years now, I was also always very much invested in personal development and spiritual work. So that is also something I bring into my coaching, hence words like conscious and fulfillment and so on, which you will see transpires quite a lot in today's presentation. I qualified as a coach with CTI, and I also did a number of different courses in transformational coaching. I worked with a spiritual teacher and so forth. And I also worked with some big influencers like Deepak Chopra, John DeMartini, and so on. I also love to write, and I publish for Forbes Coaches Council, Thrive Global, and so on. And I also speak, as you can see, in a number of engagements, workshops, and so forth. The logos at the bottom here are some of the companies that I either worked with or my clients actually found roles within these companies after they've been through the coaching process with me. Published author, just this one last bit. This is also a testament to my love for writing. This is a co-authored book called Joy, Recipes for Abundance, where there are stories of, inspirational stories of women who have overcome diversity and reached joy. So let's move on and see why we are here and why we are even thinking or talking about consciousness and awareness, being conscious or being aware of ourselves, and also how based on that we can make conscious decisions, and specifically conscious career decisions. I like to start with a few quotes always to get you thinking. One of the quotes that's been used a lot or rather quoted a lot is "Know thyself." Which comes from ancient Greece. And as a lot of us know, one of the most difficult things is actually getting to know ourselves. And I also like Lao Tzu's quote, which says, "Knowing others is intelligence, but knowing yourself is true wisdom." So my approach and my coaching is really heavily centered on uncovering your own gifts, your talents, your strengths, but also building awareness around your perceived weaknesses or limiting beliefs. And then once you start getting this awareness around who you are and how you can present yourself, then with that, we go to implementation of your career strategy, whatever it can be. Whether you are setting up on your own or you are looking for a new role. I also recently got in touch with another quote, very briefly, which is deeply inspiring for me, and I had forgotten about it. And this is Carl Jung, who says, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." So perhaps you haven't expected this in a career-related workshop, but to my mind, it is extremely important to be gaining and developing this self-knowledge throughout our lives and building on it. So moving on, one of the crucial things that I start exploring with my clients in our sessions is their values. Because values essentially are the non-negotiable elements of our beliefs, which then lead to our attitudes and behaviors, and thereby govern our life for most part. Some of the questions that I share here on the screen with you are also questions that I give to my clients right at the beginning of our work together. So I'd like to give you a minute or so to ponder some of these questions and write down. Usually I suggest writing down first thing that comes to mind without overthinking. So who are you and how do you define yourself? You can list different roles perhaps that you play in your life in relation to yourself, to others, and the world at large. It will also be interesting for you to reflect on these at a later point and see perhaps which ones you wrote first, because those will probably have priority in your mind, even if it's subconscious mind. Here and there, I get a client who writes a lot of things about how they see themselves, but they hardly mention anything about the role they play with their work or their career. And then they realize, oh, wow, I thought I was much more committed to moving into a new career, whereas it looks like that at present moment, that is not at the front of their mind, or they're not spending very much thinking or thinking about or developing their work or their career. Some of the examples that you could write here, and I'm sure everyone's got their own, could be about how you define yourself in terms of who you are. Some people say woman or man or human. I had a client who wrote me, I'm me. I really like that. And then in relation to others, perhaps, you know, are you a parent? Are you a child, a sibling, a relative, a friend? Are you a business person? Are you whatever it is that you do in your career and your job? But also it could involve other types of activities related to your community, perhaps, maybe hobbies. Do you sing? Do you dance? Do you practice yoga? Do you write? Do you do fencing or kickboxing? Lots of people do different things. Maybe you compete in public speaking. Maybe you play chess. Maybe you volunteer and contribute to the community in some way. So all of these can be part of building this overall picture. And then moving on, I'd like to ask you to ponder the next question, which is really about values. What are the most non-negotiable things in my life? And by extension, in my work and career. And we will deepen this in a minute, but I just want to give you like half a minute to write down a few things. I'd like to take you through an exercise, actually a couple of quick exercises here. And then you can compare and see what comes out from these as opposed to what you have written in the first place. It may bring you an interesting insight. So I'd like you to think about an event that particularly upset you. It could be a person that let you down or did something that made you very upset, or it could be an event. Something where you were really, really upset. You were very angry, or you were very disappointed, or you were very sad, or all of that combined. I'm pretty sure everyone can think of one such circumstance. So bring that to mind. And then I'd like you to write down some of the qualities of that person or the event that really upset you. For example, if someone, say a friend, betrayed you, what are the qualities of that person? Maybe they were dishonest, they were not loyal, they let you down. If it's an event, again, use some descriptive words. Maybe you saw an injustice that really upset you. I hope everyone's getting something on the paper. Now that you've got those words that qualify the person or the situation that really, really upset you and triggered you, I would like you to look at what is at the opposite end of the spectrum from those qualities. So if someone was disloyal, dishonest, for example, I just took this example, but could be anything, or lied to you, or wasn't transparent, or was manipulative, what is at the other end? What are the opposites of this? Honest, loyal, trustworthy, transparent. So what you're just writing down will be some of the representations of your core values. And why is that? Usually when we get upset, this is because someone or something has stepped on our core values. That's precisely why we get upset. And sometimes we get so upset that we are ready to defend them with our own life. So this is one of the ways you can identify what really truly matters to you. Identify the triggers of a situation or a person and then look at the opposite end. If it was, for example, an injustice, maybe it was something that you saw in the news and really triggered you. At the opposite end of injustice or crime or poverty, or I don't know, whatever it is that you saw that triggered you, will be the values that matter to you, such as justice, equality, fairness. Okay, we have a message here. My manager just fired me because I was threatened, outperformed her in sales environment. She has now claimed all my clients and I lost my job. Oh gosh, this is really not good. How am I supposed to react? I see. Well, this is definitely not an enviable situation. It's from one of the participants. In terms of how you're supposed to react, I'd say first and foremost, the important thing would be to process the situation internally. And when I say come to peace with it, I don't mean necessarily accept everything and just give up, but accept what you have to accept and then work on what you can actually change. It is a big topic, and I'll be very happy to discuss with you in private if you contact me post the session. So going back to some of these values, and of course I'm giving you just this small glimpse here. Working on core values takes time, and there are many different exercises and techniques. But the reason why I'm bringing this here is it's extremely important for you to know what really truly matters to you in your life, and by extension in your work or career, in order to pursue a career or a role that really fits in with your core values, in order to work in an environment which supports your core values. Often clients come to me and they're not happy, they're not fulfilled because this fit is not right. So in other words, very briefly, because we have to move on, how do you translate some of these into your career values? I've had a client, for example, who worked or wanted actually to move into investment banking specifically, yet as a person, she wasn't driven that much by money or monetary reward. And then I dug deeper to see why was she motivated to pursue that career. And that was because she had some external expectations which she adopted, thinking that that's what she wanted. So that's why it's important not to have this mismatch, to know your core values and then take them into your career. For example, if you value work-life balance, you will not be going into an environment which is super stressful and very dynamic. So moving on, the next question at the bottom of this slide leads us into another area, which is around our natural talents, but also our strengths. This is one of the questions that actually recruiters can use in an interview, and I've seen it. What do you love, and what do you love doing that gives you energy? What gives you energy? Why are they asking that? They're asking that because they want to see where your natural abilities and affinities are, so that can then be employed in your role. So before we move on to strengths and what you love, just to recap on the values. As I mentioned, values are not always easy to uncover because we get a lot of conditioning throughout our lives from childhood, but basically from the moment we're born. So our parents will be our main role models. And then through adolescence, we will be getting input from teachers or relatives, family, friends, and especially from peer culture, extremely important. And these days, of course, the world of social media and celebrities and politicians, everyone's got something to say. So how do you cut through that jungle of influences and find your real voice, find your true values? So I'm just giving you these questions to inspire you to start uncovering that. Or at least, if not working through a coaching process or going deeper into this with different tools, at least then to make sure that you stop before you pass judgment or before you take a particular view as yours and question, is this my view? Is this my expectation? Is this my judgment? Is this in alignment with who I am and what matters to me? So moving on to strengths, interests, and passions. Again, very important aspect of knowing yourself. Most of us know what we're good at, partially, but do we know really a lot more about what we're good at? And furthermore, even if we know what we're good at, do we acknowledge that? Do we really fully embrace that? I cannot tell you how many clients I see who, even though on the surface could be confident, actually struggle with owning their own skills, competencies, strengths, and furthermore, articulating them, which is extremely important in a recruitment process, for example, from applications to interviews to, or pitching to a client even. So again, some of the questions I jotted down here, and I'll give you again half a minute to write down some answers. Tell me about an activity in which you immerse yourself so fully that you lose track of time. This one is really interesting, and it is a recruiter question. So take half a minute to jot down a few things, and I'll explain what is behind this question. So the question about immersing yourself fully into an activity is about the state of flow. Just before the presentation, I had a chat with Gail and we talked about a book, which I will mention in a minute. But part of that book talks in an interesting way about being in flow. And when we're in flow, everything is aligned. Who we are and our skills and competencies and passions, they all come together. And that's why that particular activity that we really enjoy, we're also good at, and we lose track of time because we're so passionate about it. We merge, we become one with that activity. For some people, it could be a creative activity, art, could be playing chess, could be running, could be doing parts of your work and your job. Ideally, we want that as well to appear, at least parts of what you do. What gives you an energy buzz? What are you passionate about? These are all very similar questions. And the reason why recruiters could ask that is because they want to see, first of all, they want to see who you are as a person. It's not just all about hard skills and competencies. Of course, they're important. But they want to see what really truly matters to you, how you self-actualize, what type of activity you enjoy, and how that can be harnessed in your work. That will also show whether you are a good fit or not for the environment and the organization, just as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. I mentioned here personality tests to identify your natural strengths. There's a whole plethora of these. I use a couple with my clients before we start working. I give them a few to identify their strengths, but also their limiting beliefs. Extremely important actually to address both of these rather than just strengths and kind of push aside the bits that sabotage us because they will come back. So I decided to bring in this slide into the presentation, and some of you may have seen this before. The word ikigai is a Japanese word, and it stands for reason for being. The reason, the thing that gives purpose and value to your life. It's almost like raison d'être in French, I would say. Japanese have taken this concept as a life philosophy. I have to admit that while I was living in Japan way back, we're talking almost like, well, definitely more than 25 years ago, 30 years ago, I wasn't aware of this concept. You wouldn't hear this very often in day-to-day conversations, but it is definitely part of their philosophy. The book that Gael and I were referring to is a book on Ikigai. Again, whoever is interested, they can get in touch with me and I'll happily share. But recently, Ikigai is being used as, or the concept of Ikigai is being used as a coaching model adapted to a certain extent. And it is a coaching model that asks you, are you doing something that you love? Is it something that the world needs? Are you good at it? And can you be paid for it? Ideally, we want your work or your profession or your job to coincide with the intersection where Ikigai is. So ask yourself, again, I'll give you half a minute or so to jot down some answers. Are you doing what you love? Does the world need it? In other words, translated to commercial language, is there a market need for what you love? Can you be paid for it? That's the commercial aspect, because if you can't, it will be just a hobby. And are you good at it? This is the part where you can bring your skills, your expertise, your experience, your credentials. So we're just scratching the surface here, but I wanted to give you this model and you can refer to it and ponder more, because in order to create these conscious career decisions, this really is the foundation. We need to have this self-knowledge as a minimum. I often see clients who have a couple of these ticked, so to speak, but not all. Or they come to me and say, actually, no, I don't love at all what I do. And I'm not inspired by it anymore at all. I want to do something else. And that's when we start digging into this and exploring and bringing all different things that we mentioned at the beginning of the session in terms of who they are, what matters to them, what their passions are, what their skills and strengths are, because all of that comes together to give you a better idea or awareness of yourself in the context, of course, of work. Yes, I will share information about the book on Ikigai, absolutely. So let's move on. I've given you, I believe, quite a bit of food for thought, but there are lots of practical considerations as well in terms of what it is that recruiters want, or rather the specification of a role that you may be applying for, and your own skills, strengths, affinities, natural talents, and so on. It is very important to be aware of their requirements as well as what it is that you offer. But equally, it's important to know what it is that you want out of a work environment in order to create this perfect fit. So as you progress and get more self-knowledge, and I'm sure a lot of these you already know, you can look at things like creativity, analytical thinking, problem solving. Are these your strengths? They're very much in demand these days. Actually, a recent survey from LinkedIn mentioned about 60% of hiring managers want the following qualities, and they're not on the slide because this is just a very new finding, so I'll read them to you. Creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, time management. So these are some of the traits or competencies even that you will find in demand pretty much by every company or every role or every type of position. So consider which are your strengths, and then if they're not, if you are kind of moving away from certain things, that could be a signal that you don't really enjoy them, but that could be a signal that that's precisely what you need to shed the light on and work on it to improve it. Words versus numbers. Are you more of a numbers person? Or you prefer to articulate through written and spoken word? What is your learning style? Very important. We don't often think about these things. I only recently, I wouldn't say only recently, but say a few years ago, I started paying attention to this, and I actually realized something that I knew, but I wasn't fully engaged with it, that I really learned the best through doing. If I have a live training with people that I can interact, fantastic. I will absorb a lot, I will engage, and it's just going to work for me. If you give me an instruction to read for anything, this is the worst curse. I just hate doing that. That's why I prefer, if it's something to install or a new device, I'll just give to anyone else to do. Just don't give it to me. But of course, in real life and in work, we have to adapt. Sometimes we have to adapt and expand a little bit our learning style to include something that, we don't necessarily like. Also, the, shall I say, the theory of left brain and right brain and so on. Someone told me a while ago, actually, no, that's a myth. Everyone can learn anything if you give it enough time and devotion and persistence. So I decided to take Sudoku about 18 months ago because I'm not a numbers person really. And I just kept going at it. And I managed to get to the intermediate level, which I was amazed at. I'm still not very good at all, but much better than when I first started. It would probably take me half an hour to do one very basic Sudoku. So the reason why I'm mentioning all of this is just to help you awake to the possibility of learning new things, of challenging yourself, of trying to develop perhaps new skills that you think you don't have, or that's not for you, or you never wanted to do it in the first place. Introvert versus extrovert. Again, this could also be seen as a myth, to be honest, because I've done a bit of research on this recently, and I read quite a bit about ambiverts. I think I spoke about that in my last presentation at Focus when I talked about networking. So we all have a bit of introversion and extroversion. It's just a question of how we decide to approach it and how we want to use what's given to us, and also how we want to build on it. Moving from our comfort zone, absolutely, exactly. That is the thing. And also, as they say, if doing something new, you don't feel any discomfort, then most likely you haven't left your comfort zone. So it is really when we start feeling uncomfortable and not kind of quite in our skin, that means we're stretching, and that's when we're leaving the comfort zone. People, person, or task focused. I just jotted down a few things here. I mean, this list could go on into hundreds. The reason why I wrote this here is I had in mind a particular client who was quite successful in his role with a major IT consultancy where he spent more than 10 years, but he came to me and said, I really hate IT. I don't want to do that. And the only satisfaction or fulfillment that he had from his job was because he was working in the business development and sort of liaising with clients. So essentially we started investigating, and he's very much a people person, whereas information technology generally is very task focused and process focused. So no wonder he wasn't happy, but he was only happy when he was dealing with people. So there's lots of things to consider when it comes to, deciding consciously what is right for you, what is the next step that's going to work for you. So this is one of the strap lines that I have, which is clear vision plus inspired action gives results. In other words, you need to gain this self-knowledge and self-awareness, first of all, by understanding where you are right now in your life and your career. And then from there, and knowing what it is that you can offer to an employer, for example, but also what it is that you require as a professional, then you can chart the course forward and create your career strategy and your vision and start implementing it. And that's when things like preparing for applications or learning how to analyze roles or where to find career opportunities, how to apply, how to prepare for interviews, what to do with your LinkedIn, your CV, and so on, personal branding, all of that comes at the end point, really. Having mentioned that, I've run a series of masterclasses. I think Corinne, who is present, attended the personal branding one. At the moment, they're on pause because I'm developing new content, which will be available in a few months' time on a subscription basis, and I will keep you informed. These masterclasses were very popular because majority of people want to know, okay, how can I pass an interview? How do I build my personal brand? How do I get this visibility? How do I get my LinkedIn profile to work for me? All of this is very important, and I absolutely, as a career coach, I cover that as well. However, working just on that before this piece on insight and building self-knowledge, to my mind, is not always likely to give you good results, because there could be a mismatch. There could be, falling into a job or going down the path which may seem okay, but can leave you unfulfilled or burnt out in the long run. So to recap, what do you need to do to bring all of this into a successful career and to be able to make conscious career decisions? First and foremost, as I said, know yourself. Working on ourselves is a lifetime work. It never stops. So it's about being curious and learning more and exploring. Never compromise your core values. I'd say this is super important. Whenever I see unhappy clients or even unhappy people in personal life, there is some kind of dissonance or discord. There is a gap between what they truly value and what they're really going after or what they're pursuing. But if you don't bring that awareness or consciousness in there, this gap can persist. And as I said, could lead to being unfulfilled or out of work or burnt out, or perhaps not good relationships in personal life and work. So core values, extremely important. Again, build on your natural strengths that are underpinned by your interests and passions. Very briefly here, because we still have a few minutes before questions, I'll just mention that I usually see 3 scenarios with my clients. Some of them are actually able to bring their passion and what they love into their work. And in other words, they find that passion and love in what they do, which is brilliant. With the second scenario, in a career transition, because that's what I specialize in career transitions, I see clients who are able to transition into a new path, which often happens to be setting up a business on their own or their own consultancy, where they can leverage their transferable skills and experience from their past career and bring their passion and what they love into this new path. And the third scenario is when I see clients who continue doing what they're doing in terms of their work or career. They could be fulfilled or not so, but perhaps the moment may not be right to change, or they need to build on it and prepare, say, for 18 months or 2 years. But then what we focus on alongside effecting that change is bringing more of what they love into their life. In other words, their hobbies, passions, whatever inspires them, taking care of their well-being. Because we often let life just take the better of us, and we forget what's really important to us. What makes us happy? What brings us joy? So I would often get clients to commit to whatever it is they said they would commit. They will start playing saxophone again, or they'll take up sailing, or they will walk 10,000 steps a day. I don't know, it doesn't matter what it is. It's different for every person, but it's extremely important to bring what matters to us, what makes us happy and what makes us joyous into our lives. Because career or work is just one part of who we are, and it's one part of our life, and it cannot, to my mind, cannot be taken in isolation from all other aspects of our lives. And that's also why I asked you at the beginning, how do you define yourself? What other roles do you play in your life? Because everything is intertwined. And more often than not, clients who work with me experience great changes, very beneficial changes, not just in relation to their career, but in terms of their personal life, their well-being, their relationships, their self-belief, of course, and confidence. Be open and curious. This is about this learning about yourself, but also learning about other people, learning about what other skills you can adopt or what you can train in, learning about what's happening in the world, in your industry, in the company that you are either working in at the moment or you would like to work for. So it is about being really open-minded and having your sort of antennas out, because all of that, whether you're aware or not, will inform your decisions when it comes to career. Grow and learn from every failure and every success. Again, one of my important aspects of my coaching, where I work with my clients to help them understand, process and digest, and then articulate stories, career narratives, stories of their past career or even personal life. They could be achievements, but they could be drawbacks, because we learn, believe it or not, more from difficult situations and setbacks than sometimes from, great achievements and the moments that we celebrate. Love what you do and your life will love you back. I totally stand behind this statement. I've seen a lot of people flourish once they move into the zone of, let's say, of ikigai, but the zone of alignment, really. I can speak also for myself that I absolutely love what I do. And to me, it doesn't matter how many hours I work, because I just love what I do. And I'm there for my clients a lot, as well as researching, writing, speaking, and so forth. Help others. This is the last thing on this slide, but again, there could be many, many other bullet points. Helping others, I also see as a very important part of a good life philosophy. This also is something that I talk about when I talk about networking. And it is about building relationships, about being generous with your information, with your knowledge, with your time, giving a helping hand to someone who may need it. And that will be returned to you for sure. Maybe not from the same person, but you will get something in return. So this is it from me. I hope you found this interesting, inspirational, or whatever else, or that at least you got some insights about yourself. I, as a career coach and leadership development coach, offer masterclasses, group coaching, and 2 levels of one-to-one coaching if you're interested in knowing more. please reach out. The best way would be to email me. My new website, actually, I'm announcing just tomorrow, but feel free to go and check it out today, even though some final glitches may be just ironed out. That is whatwork.co.uk. And I would love to ask you for some questions, for some interaction, and just, yeah, any insights that you would like to share. And thank you for your time and attention. Is anyone wanting to contribute? If so, please unmute yourself. You can also type in the chat box, but it'd be nice also to hear someone. Okay, we have Sanchai. Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Any comments at all? Questions?
So I have a question, but I'm not sure how to word what I'm wanting to ask. I think kind of, so I'm at a stage of looking for a new career possibly. And one of the difficult parts I'm finding is being able to put aside what I should do and allow my passion and interests to override that as I'm looking towards a new vision.
Understood.
Make sense?
Absolutely, totally. Generally, when we think about, oh, I should do this, I must do this, I have to, these are the so-called saboteurs or limiting beliefs that are at play. I do a lot of work on saboteurs based on the work of Shirzad Chamine, the author of Positive Intelligence. These are the beliefs that we have internalized, which govern some of our thoughts and behaviors and are not really helpful. Having said that, every strength and limiting belief, say, could be seen as two sides of the same coin. So, sorry, I just lost you for a second. Yes. So, for example, being an achiever means we're driven and we produce great results. Fantastic. The saboteur, the other side of that, is hyperachiever. The hyperachiever keeps saying, oh, you must do this, you must do more. This is not good enough. This is, you know, you have to go for the next thing. So it creates this gap or disparity or the feeling of, something's off. So this kind of internal dialogue or internal fight, I see that quite a lot in my clients, generally in people, which is normal. We're all human, we all have that. I would just say, in order to find a solution for that, my advice would be to follow your passion, to follow what you truly deep down know you want to do, and find a way to do it without compromising your core values. That doesn't mean that you won't have to make some compromises, but it's a different thing to make compromises on the way and to compromise your core values or your core passion.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Paula, for asking. And feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to expand on that. We had from Manika, thank you, Jelena, lots of things to reconsider, especially keeping something as a hobby if it's not needed in the society. I see. Again, it's difficult to comment without knowing what it is. There are people who have turned their hobbies into businesses. So I wouldn't say, you know, I wouldn't discount it necessarily without deeper thought and putting it in the context of what it is that you want to achieve. Or if it is a hobby that you're happy to keep as a hobby and have something else as your work, then it doesn't matter if it's needed or not, if you enjoy it. If you want to create that as a business or a business activity, then yes, you will have to look for commercial angles to that. We have Sanchai. Gail, I don't know if you can help me to, okay, she raised the hand. Yeah, so Sanchai, would you like to comment?
Yeah, hi, Jelena.
Hi.
Thanks very much. It was quite an intriguing presentation. Obviously, a lot of food for thought. And sometimes my couple of dilemmas, I'll just conscious of time. One of the dilemma I face is, although, you know, there, especially after your presentation, there's recognition that all this exists, but how do you kind of crystallize these thoughts into actions and make them those inspired actions that you speak about? So that's my current dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
But also some of the practical challenges around bridging the skills gap, because I'd like to believe that most people do not possess all the skills that are necessary in say the potential roles that people could be aiming towards, but there is a set of core competencies and behaviors with those skills gap. How do you practically achieve a state where you're comfortable with those gaps and still achieve your say the next position, if I just keep it kind of little more specific?
Sure, absolutely. Let me answer the last question first. Through the coaching process, it often transpires that there is a skills gap. I teach my clients at a sort of mid stage of my coaching process how to analyze roles and how to see whether it's fitting or not. So I ask them actually to highlight in red everything that is not fitting and highlight in green everything that is fitting. That is, though, preceded by quite a lot of work on compiling your possible jobs sheets or career options sheet, where we bring together everything that I mentioned in this session in detail and match all of these against various possible roles that I want to explore. It depends to what level the skill gap is in terms of continuing to apply and being confident, if I understood your question correctly. If you have identified a particular hard skill that you need to acquire, then often I advise my clients, and they do it themselves anyway, they enroll in a course or qualification, or these days a lot of it is available online. For some other things, it could be a longer, more demanding certification process or chartership. It really depends on what you do. But just by virtue of taking the first step towards improving and gaining that skill, you gain more confidence. Just even looking at your CV, if it says currently enrolled or currently studying for whatever, I don't know, it could be ACCA, say accounting qualification, or could be some digital skills these days, extremely, very much in demand. Just when a recruiter can see that on your LinkedIn or your CV, they will know that you are already on the path to acquiring that skill. That in itself is, puts you in a much better position than just not doing anything about it. In terms of how to crystallize everything, it's a process. I would just say, be very patient and persistent, and either use a coach or work with a friend or a colleague, or find materials online. There are lots of tools that you can use for this self-discovery process, and then start organizing your findings, compiling them, and taking strategic decisions from there in terms of what you will pursue. But I'd say one thing that is crucially important for everyone to remember, and a lot of people forget, if you are a job seeker or a career transitioner, don't think only about okay, this is what I can bring to the organization, like these are my skills and competencies and my experience. Also think about what you need and what you want. And a lot of people forget about that. And be ruthless when you explore the offer and whether the company will really, or the role really offer you whatever it is that you want, whatever is your core career value, which could be, opportunities for career progression or for potential for growth, continuous learning, maybe international travel, maybe work-life balance, whatever. I mean, there's so many different things. Different people want different things. So bear in mind both sides always. I hope that answers some of your points, Sancha.
No, it certainly does. Thank you very much, Jelena.
Thank you. We have some messages from Petrali and Cindy. Already changed my career temporarily and taking my hobby very seriously so that maybe I can take up as a career later on. Absolutely. Career transitions are lengthy things often. I mean, I've helped clients who moved like you have from continents or countries. They may have moved roles or jobs or even industries. Sometimes there's a double jump or a triple jump where all different aspects from, role, company, industry, geography changes. These are huge life transitions. So please be kind to yourselves, allow some time, because these things cannot be resolved like this with the magic wand. Also, I've had clients who worked with me to transition into a different role whilst at the same time developing their own consultancy. For example, I have a client who, when he joined me after 6 sessions or so, he landed the role in Amazon, which he loved, a senior operations role. He relocated from Denmark to Luxembourg, and he's now working for Amazon. However, his dream, well, not a dream, a vision, is to start his own venture capital fund. So he came back to me. We're working for another year together because he is preparing to start his own business in the next, say, 18 months. So it is quite possible to be working on multiple levels or transitions, but you need time, you need patience, you need kindness to yourself, and yeah, you need to persevere as well.
Hi, Jelena.
Hi.
Hi. Just getting over the point that you touched now about, for example, if I want to develop a project, that's a long a long plan project. So what should I consider first? Because I already have my own work, I already have my own life, and I'm comfortable with, but I also have the ambition of projecting myself in 5 years' times. So what I need to consider in starting from now, taking actions to the future in about 5 years' times project.
Sure. When you say project, would that mean, do you work for yourself? Do you have your business? Or yeah, you do. Okay. And again, when you say project, would that mean developing a new product or service for your business?
Oh, sorry, no. I'm working at the moment for a company.
Okay.
Yes, I employee at the moment, but this is a 3 years contract.
I see.
So I'm vision my future after the 3 years on working on my own or develop something that give me comfortable incomes or something that I will enjoy it to do as well.
Sure.
As I am doing now.
There are many different parts to consider. I'd say in the bigger picture of your life plan, where are you? Are you going to change geographies, location? Are you going to stay where you are? That's one of the first things that you would look as like common sense. And then I think looking at really what matters to you the most. What is it that you want to be doing, or who do you want to be in 5 years' time? even some visualization processes, and I do a lot of that with my clients, and there's different exercises which are really fun. But it is about really thinking deeply and visualizing, if you're a visual type, where are you in 5 years? Where are you? What are you doing? How do you feel? Who is with you? Where do you see yourself working? You know, sometimes, not sometimes, as part of my coaching process, I get my clients to write their dream job description. So you can put in writing, if writing is your thing, or you can draw. Some people are very creative. They love to paint pictures. And just in that way, tap into your sort of inner desires about what it is that you want to develop in 5 years' time. And then you can take steps to start to implement that. So for example, if you say my goal is that in 5 years' time, I don't know, I'm at this level and I'm making this much money. I'm just taking two very sort of obvious things, but could be anything. What are the steps that I need to take in order to get there? And then you start to identify those steps, break them down, and then work backwards. So in order to earn an X amount of money, I need to be in this role. To get to this role, I need to, you know, work more as this and that. I need to get more of this experience. I need to raise my visibility. I need to expand my network, and so forth. Again, these are just some ad hoc examples. You're very welcome. So are we good to wrap up, Gail?
I think we are. Thank you so much, Jelena. I think everybody's going to think a lot this afternoon in the next days. And yeah, it was very, very interesting and very useful. And I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. And well, thank you all for joining us. And thank you so much, Jelena, for enlightening our day. And
thank you so much for having me again. It's a real pleasure, real pleasure. Can I just invite everyone to connect with me on LinkedIn? That would be the best and easiest option. And then you'll see I share a lot of free content, and we can engage from there.
Perfect. Thank you. And I wish you all a very nice afternoon. It's still sunny, so enjoy it now. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.